Abiding by the Constitution of Nigeria is a patriotic responsibility of every citizen and everyone who resides in this country. When you disregard this, you face the wrath of the law and leave yourself vulnerable for persecution. There's another unpatriotic habit that some people have imbibed and are inculcating in others. That is spreading rumors and falsehood. It is dangerous to progress and development. It is dangerous to national development. But Desmond Tutu puts it this way. He says that let's do our own little good wherever we find ourselves. And eventually, all these little acts that we make will come together and overwhelm the negative habits of people all over the world. My name is Thelma Obaza. Welcome. It's a weekend deal.
My name is Suleiman Babaja Usman. It's always a pleasure to have you join us on the show. And Thelma, from your, statements, it's obvious that we all have a role to play in national development. And yes, we're still talking about NSAS protest. Of course, if you look back, even though from yesterday we still understand that there's still like some miscreants who are trying to disrupt the whole essence of the
But the police
protest.
have been up and doing. They've caught many of those who stole property from different businesses,
Definitely.
especially in Lagos.
Definitely. And of course, we can always look at the pros and cons of this, protest. But looking more on the positive side of it is the fact that it gives us an opportunity to reassess how far we have come as a nation, and most especially when it concerns the youth.
Indeed.
Police brutality certainly is something that we want to put an end to.
Indeed.
And of course, the SARS has been banned, and yes, we can only talk about police reform henceforth. Welcome once again. My name is Suleiman Babaja Usman.
Welcome back. You're in the right place at the right time to get accurate information about the happenings nationwide. And that's how Francis is going to talk about youth and governance and all its ramifications in this overview.
Significant it will be to involve youth in the mainstream development and governance projects in Nigeria. It is obvious reality that no inclusive and sustainable development and governance can be built without involvement of youth.
Which history we have it. Most of the presidents and the leaders of this country, right from early early 1960, at the close of 1950, 1960, 1970, most of the leaders of Nigeria were youth. They came into leadership at the age of 24, 25, 30, not up to 35 years. But naturally, it is naturally unfortunate and pathetic. We never lay proper foundation for youth to develop. And that's what is leading to crisis today in Nigeria. We need to bring the youth back to government. We need to encourage the youth to come on board. Earlier, we do that. Train up a child in a way when he or she grows up, will not depart from that way.
Positions of governance is not predominantly occupied by the elderly alone. We have a lot of offices that are very key being occupied by the youth too. And if I may make example, charity, they say, begins at home. If you come to Kogi State, you can see that our own governor is a youthful governor. Our deputy governor is a youthful deputy governor. And most of our appointees at that state level, they are all youths.
The giant strides being recorded by youth in all aspects of our national life, like in business, technology, entertainment, sports, education cannot be understated. While some Nigerian youth who found themselves in appointive positions in private or public office, at home and abroad have proven their worth, others have failed woefully to the disappointment of their people.
Our youth are dynamic. Our youth are creative. They are rugged. They are rugged, dogged, indefatigable, workaholic, and result-oriented. These are the kind of youth we have in Nigeria. Our youth are wonderful. You see them in terms of football, you see them in terms of athletes, and see them even in the forces, in the paramilitary, and so forth and so on. I think that if we say that the youth are lazy, if we say that the youth are yahoo children, if we say that they are vandals, they are armed robbers, and this, that will not help the issue. Let's see to how we can actually make use of this youth effectively.
It's not just coming to be in governance that is the only opportunity. Some of us were in private firms before we come to governance. You know, we were doing very well. We achieved a lot. We were employers of labor at various levels. You know, so some youth can be encouraged by establishing their own firms too and employ, you know, other people.
Global explosion in knowledge and social consciousness has enhanced the capacity of Nigerian youth. However, their ability to utilize these assets effectively to drive national transformation would depend on the leadership opportunities available to them.
The political party should be looking at the youth, not recruiting the youth for being thugs, and then to create violence, and then duplicate election, and then cause chaos. That's what politicians are making use of the youth for. And then they empower them with ammunition.
It's not that you are a youth, you want to be governor. No, you must have the ability. You must have the capacity to lead. And how does that come? You must have, something upstairs to tell the people. It's not that you are just interested in being governor, in being president, in being House of Reps, in being in the Senate, even in being chairman, councillor. These are leadership positions, and you must have leadership traits before you can be allowed to go.
Performance and age are two different things. When a leader has performed or is performing, nobody cares about his age. What good leadership requires is strength of character, direction, focus, accountability, and selfless service.
I pray that we should employ the youth. We give birth to them, let us get them settled. We send them to school, they read, they graduate, let us get them settled. Of course, those who want to work, let them work. Those who want to go to school, let them go to school. Those who want to go to farming, let them go to farming. We the parents should wake up now to think about what the future of our children will be.
The youth to be of good character, to behave themselves, and even assume leadership in your own capacity.
Our focus on Weekend Deal today is tagged Youth and Governance. What and where is the missing link?
There is a great country called Nigeria, of which we are all proud citizens, and that country boasts ingenious, tenacious, unrelenting, hard-working, patriotic citizens, and will continue to be so in spite of the odds that we face at this time. In continuance of our plan to bring you all that is happening nationwide accurately and on time, we bring you a chat that Suleiman had with Barrister Tony Ojukwu. He is the Executive Secretary of the Human Rights Commission.
Okay, still talking about the way forward as far as End SARS protest is concerned in Nigeria. And right now we have joined us in the studio Mr. Tony Ojukwu. Is the Executive Secretary of National Human Rights Commission. You're welcome to our studios.
Thank you.
I know it has been a very busy week for you in trying to deal with the crisis at hand, but quickly bring us up to speed about the judicial panels of inquiry. I know that many states have erected their structures and then they're already getting to work.
Yeah, of course, the investigation panels and the judicial commissions of inquiry are very, very critical at this point in time, because the whole clamor by the NSAS movement was all about justice, about accountability. And one key way you can get people to account for the wrongs they have done is to investigate it through a panel of inquiry. Then, if it is established, you take the next steps, which is either prosecution or disciplinary action or compensation or damages. And these are all accountability issues. So that was why one of the most and first important things to do is to investigate the alleged violations by SARS and other police units. Now, the multiple panels of inquiry is also strategic in the sense that before, like when we did it in 2018 and 19, we had one panel in Abuja which went around the 6 geopolitical zones. So if that panel, if there's only one panel this time, when it goes to Anambra State, the people in Sokoto will be waiting for it to come to Sokoto. While it's in Sokoto, the people in Kwara will be waiting. And you can see that people had already lost patience. You know, so there was need for prompt action that would be simultaneous in all the states at the same time, so that also it will give more access to people. Because if you have to think of, maybe will they ask me to come to Abuja or something, you may get frustrated. But if it is at your doorsteps, at your state capital, you at least you don't have much reason not to be able to complain if you have a genuine complaint. So the panels have been set up. Other states who are not setting up are setting up, and each of the panels in the states is being encouraged to set up about 200 million. You know, Lagos has led in that process, and this is set aside for payment of compensation for those whose remedy will be payment of compensation. Now, we have also set up the panel in Abuja here. Now, the panel in Abuja here is going to look at the complaints from the FCT, and if there are fallouts from the other states, you know, there may be hanging over cases, there may be maybe some people would prefer to have their own dealt in Abuja.
Okay, and I know that your commission is working hand in hand with the Nigerian Bar Association to help, you know, with some of these cases. But aside that, what are other challenges you think these, you know, panels are likely to confront as they engage their assignment? Well,
you know, what I foresee is it is very easy to make allegations, but when it comes to concretizing them, improving them, there's always a challenge, because some of the evidence may no longer be there. Some of the witnesses may no longer be there. Some of the marks, for instance, if somebody was tortured and they had bruises and he didn't go to hospital at that point in time, now it becomes difficult unless he has marks on his body, and then the issue will be at what point in time did you get these marks? You know, do you have pictures of how recent these marks on you? So it's always a challenge. You know you were tortured. You know SARS did what to you, but how do you prove it? How do you prove it? You may not even know the name of the SARS officer who has done this to you. If a police officer has done one thing, maybe you have forgotten the name, or because at the time it was happening, you didn't remember to take down the name or the first number. So, you know, these are all challenges that may come along the line. And then, you know already the one which we are trying to solve through collaboration with the Nigerian Bar Association, because some of the people may not even be educated, those who have suffered this. So we need somebody to help them to articulate their complaints before the panel. So we felt that if NBA could give lawyers to those who need, so that they can know, because when a lawyer is presenting a petition, he probably know whether the ingredients of the allegation have been sorted, have been reflected, and what in trying to present it the kind of questions the panel will ask to enable them prove it, to to kind of establish a prima facie case.
And then that process could actually help the the panels in terms of doing
Exactly.
away with some cases
Something,
even before
exactly.
they get to the main panel.
Exactly.
Now, let's look at you're talking about victims, of course, you're concerned about human rights abuses here and there, but during this crisis, properties have been destroyed worth millions of naira, and then you're also concerned about paying compensation to those whose properties have been destroyed.
Yeah, of course, it's one of the key remedies of accountability, because it's unfortunate, really. That was why the protest seems to have gone out of hand. If the protests had remained peaceful or had been transformed into negotiations, we would have avoided this aspect of destruction of properties. So the panel has no choice than to look at it and assess the damages caused to people, and see how they can be recompensed, how they can be, assuaged somehow, because it's all part of the grievances in the system. If you don't sort these people out, they will continue to be angry with the government. They will continue to be angry with the system. So it's very, very important that those whose properties have been damaged are also listened to, and something should be done. It may not be a perfect something, but at least something should be done to show that government cares for them, to show that we are all in sympathy with them. Is an unfortunate thing. And more importantly, every citizen is supposed to, the welfare and security of the citizens is the primary purpose of governance. So their properties, their bodies, and their everything should be protected. And the allegation will be, if the security agencies had provided protection, their property wouldn't have been destroyed.
At some point, the security agencies were also, scared of what will happen to them.
Yeah, but also is a failure of protection, whatever.
Now, I know that your commission actually, sent, staff around where those protests were taking place to monitor the progress there for likely or possible human rights abuses. Now, the Lekki shooting, this is one, flashpoint that has generated a lot of controversy. Different narrative coming from different angles. Now, what story did you get from your staff that witnessed or heard stories from there?
Well, immediately the Lekki incident happened, we have issued a statement condemning the use of live ammunition on protesters, which is termed excessive use of force, because they were not fighting, they were not using any ammunitions on themselves. So why will you use such a level of repression?
But while investigation is still ongoing, the military has actually, dissociated itself from the incident.
Well, it has to be proved. It has to be proved. We have requested that there must be a thorough investigation. Coming to that conclusion before they say the military said they're going to investigate. So how come, if they have already taken a position, so how can they still investigate? Anyway, but Lagos State government is also setting up, has in fact expanded the terms of reference of the panel of inquiry in Lagos State to include investigating what happened at the Lekki Plaza. So we await all this and see, because from what the governor said, the governor went around the hospitals in the morning and he saw people who were hospitalized as a result of the alleged shooting. Well, whether those people are not military personnel or whatever, I believe these are things forensics can take with time. And I think it is worth investing in the forensics to find out the true. I'll be happy if it is not the Nigerian military, because that will really give us a very bad name. But that being the case, when something like this happens, we insist that there must be accountability. There are violations of human rights everywhere in the world. you know, the Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
These were perpetuated by law enforcement agents, just like what is being complained here. But the important thing is those people will be held accountable. Yeah. So if we unravel those who were behind the shooting, they should be held accountable. Good enough, the military said they didn't send them. So if eventually they are military officers, that means they were on illegal duty. And that makes it very simple to deal with them, you know. So, but we need to unravel that.
Yeah, and I know you've come up with a list of findings that about 50-something cases pending. Yes. Talk to us about that quickly.
Yeah, that is part of the implementation of the past panel report.
All right.
And that is wonderful, because there has been this shouting that former panels, their reports were not implemented. Yeah. It's panel upon panel. But that last panel is a difference. And I think that is an example of what is going to happen going ahead. Yeah. In that report, we have 35 officers recommended for dismissal. Okay. We have 33 officers recommended for prosecution. Okay. And these names of these officers have been handed over, the ones for prosecution, to the Attorney General of the Federation. And right now, that list has further been broken down into states. Okay. So the 33 total is for the whole country. Okay. But some may be from different states. Those ones from different states are being given to the state attorney generals to prosecute. Depending on where the crime actually took place. Exactly. Yeah. So that has been done. And then those for disciplinary action, which will include dismissal, reduction in rank, and so on and so forth. That is for the Police Service Commission and the Inspector General of Police to implement. That has also been passed on to them. Don't forget, there are also cases of payment of compensation. About 264 million of compensation was awarded. And these are also going to be awarded for each victim? No. For different, totality of the victims' compensation by that panel was about 264 million. Okay. Around that 2017, we carried out another inquiry, which also indicted a lot of SARS personnel and police. But then the End SARS movement came and ignited the consciousness of even the federal government, that the vice president then, Yemi Osinbajo, directed that a presidential panel should be set up, which I was the chairman of the panel. Yeah. And we did our best. We were able to conclude from that 2018. We submitted our report in June 2019, and then a white paper panel was set up, which was the Inspector General of Police, the Permanent Secretary and Solicitor General of Federal Ministry of Justice, and myself. It was a 3-man panel. So at the end of the day, we looked at all the provisions. The main provision that was really not agreed on was the issue of state police and local government police, which we stepped down. But on the other issues concerning scrapping of SARS, it was recommended. Indeed. The need for a modern police act was accepted, and you can see the police act was signed into law. Then there was the issue of these officers who were indicted, for them to be prosecuted. It was also accepted. And the welfare of the police, like their salaries and things like that. Everybody knows in this country that police is not paid well, you know. And then also the whatever they need to do their work, because you get to the police stations, there's not even paper to write. We know, some of this needs to be improved as well. And thank God we're taking the right steps in order to ensure that the situation is improved. But quickly now, moving forward, what would be your final thoughts? My final thought is the protesters have made their point. For me, it's a turning point in the history of this country. And I believe this country will never be the same again, both for the police and for the government and for politicians. I believe there will be a change in the way we do things. It's in our own interest that we build an egalitarian society. But I will encourage the NSAS protesters to sheath their sword. Let them join in the discussion table, because there is need to transform the success on the streets to policies, administrative actions, laws, and so on and so forth. You cannot be on the streets forever. Otherwise, and you see how it has resulted into hoodlums hijacking the system. So we encourage them to join hands with government. And if possible, I encourage the youth, let them form a political party. And they can use that to realize their rights in future. I believe that's one of the surest ways they can use to influence the government of tomorrow in Nigeria.
We had another politician earlier on, which of course came up with the same suggestion that the youth, it's high time the youth began to form their own political
parties. They have 65% of the population.
So that number can actually do wonders. If they don't want somebody to rule them, they can actually decide. They have a final decision to make on who they want to rule them going forward. But at the end of the day, yes, protest is allowed. It's a constitutional right, but it must be peaceful. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, Mr. Tony Ojukwu, and hopefully all of this will be, history someday, knowing fully that we have gained a lot from all this process. And of course, that is much we can take from this session. We go on a break, and after that, Weekend Deal continues.
What everyone aspires for, what we clamor for together, year in, year out, is unity in spite of our diversity. Everyone wants a progressive, balanced nation, and that is the thrust of every discussion. Let's talk with Dr. Kayode Ajulo. He's a lawyer, and I'm sure it's a very familiar name. Those who may not have seen him before certainly have heard his name. And today we're going to be talking with him about something very unique. There's some first-hand information that we're getting, Dr. Kayode.
Oh, thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Weekend Deal. About body cams. Provisions, partnership, free, so we can see more transparency as part of the reforms that can come for the police force in Nigeria.
Yes, thank you very much. The all noise about NSAS starts and ends with accountability. It starts and ends with abuse of power, because when police come across you, what is expected is for the police to behave to type, to follow the process. There we have process of investigation in Nigeria as prescribed by our law, but because of the lack of transparency, lack of accountability, police may choose to do another thing. And this, we need to be sincere, is something that's innate. I'm sure all of you agree with me that power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. You can't give anybody a gun and you see a petrified citizen. All that's been taught in laws in the police college will go off. The essence of accountability, that's why you see today we have freedom of information. All that is just to stem this corrupt tendency, to ensure that there's accountability. But we can do that. You can be a civil servant. I can write you today to ask me, you have to explain so under the freedom of information. But when it comes to police, whatever we call it, they are civil servants and they must render accounts. How now are you going to tell me police will render accounts when it comes to issue of investigation, there's nothing? If you ask them to render account, they will just tell you what their own narratives, interpretation of what happened. And that is why even in our administration of criminal justice recognizes this. That is why Section 7 of that Administration of Judicial Justice now allows for you to take statements of accused person or someone that you suspect via setting up a video and record whatever may be statement. Now it is there. Now we're saying that in police station or where the accused need to write statement. But what about at the point of the first point of contact? How do you do that? And that is why in all developed crime, you will see that the first thing, even in developed country where you don't see this abuse of power, police have their body cam. Body cam that once you are engaging a civilian populace or civil populace, you will be first aware that you are being recorded. Of course, it's in your body. All that's been said, the responses, your action will be noted down. And anybody can demand for it. Now, the question is this. We're talking of police brutality. Police brutalizes people. Police do all those things because they know where is accountability. And once there's no accountability, anything can go. And that is why the idea of that police camp. Nigeria, I believe Nigeria is developed. For you, the number
Well,
where...
how have you gone in the discussion? How far have you gone?
Well,
Will this be a reality soon?
well, you have to know, I'm a private citizen. As it is, I'm a lawyer, having my little organization. But apart from that, I founded Egalitarian Mission for Africa for over 12 years ago. It's an NGO, non-profit making, and we have partners. And it is recently, about a week ago, I was in London, spent a month, and we discussed it. Fortunately for me, I was in London when this issue about police brutality, and some of my friends, some of my partners, colleagues, raised this issue to say this is the best way forward. And I said, but you know what? And there are a lot of donors that are ready.
So this is free
to do that. Free.
Have you contacted the Nigerian police? Because I actually read one of your articles where you say it shouldn't be Nigerian police force, but the Nigerian police.
That is another thing.
Yes, we'll get there, but just quickly, have you contacted the Nigerian police?
Yeah, by my experience, many times, if you remember, I sent a memo to the president, and whether that's commander-in-chief, that is all it. And when you send such memo, there are some people that will be copied. All the chains of command right from it copied. But this will come with a caveat, and I must be sincere. The caveat here is the condition. I'm not asking that this is what you be given or not. Recently, Police Act just amended, and the best way, and it's our expectation, because one way or the other, I have a snippet to that amendment, because of course as a lawyer, you try to monitor what is happening. One of what we canvass is to ensure that we have that body camera to be prescribed, that every police officer, when you are engaging or you are going on operation, it must be on. And there will be a way that will be captured by that act. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, when I saw the act, I noticed it wasn't there. And that is the condition, that if today, Nigerian government can amend that police act to capture the usage of police camera for the purposes of transparency, accountability, 150,000 body camera will be made free to Nigerian government. This is more like article of faith. This is more of a promise that will be backed up. Many people, a lot of people want to get things right.
But what do you expect will be the outcome? Are you of the opinion that this will be well received?
Of course.
150,000, how far, how wide will that go?
When we talk of 150,000, particularly police on operation, how many police are on operation? What you should know is this. That is the beginning. Okay. I think once you start something, then we know what it is. How many SARS? I don't want to even use the name SARS. How many police officers are on operation? In each, are we talking of in each divisional police office, area command, state command? By the time you check all of them, they are not that as much as what we think it is. But 150,000 body camera, I think we go a long way. And that is the beginning. I'm very sure by the time the Nigerian government can see the positive impact. Of course, Nigeria, we are rich. We are the largest economy in Africa. We have the largest population in Africa. You need to know the import and export in Africa. You need to go to all over the world. Once you see one out of 10 black men, you come across, you'll be sure that 7, they are Nigerians. So what are we talking about? I think we seem to deceive ourselves so much that we're still underdeveloped. I don't want to believe that, because I know I know what Nigerians are doing. We're out there. Go to anywhere.
We're bringing those good things we're doing out there in here.
Yes,
and
sure.
very soon
and it is possible. It is possible. That is why you will see Nigerian police. We go on foreign mission, check out of 10 other nation police. By the time you see the number of those that receive award, 7 to 8 Nigerian policemen will receive award. The only counterpart, maybe only the United States and United Kingdom will be struggling the rest award. All over. It doesn't. These are the questions we should be asking. Check even the health sector in UK, in America, in Canada. You see that it is Nigeria. Go to Nigeria, go to all the universities. Even in Oxford, you see that it's Nigerian head in they are the dean, they are the head of the department of all these schools. But how come we can't get the same thing here? Because of, I think, of some vested interest. And like I said, accountability and transparency.
But the reforms are here now.
Yes, the reform, and that is one, and that's another thing we have to know. People, I think the issue of NSAS and police issues seem to take the front front burner because police engages people more than what it is. I do tell this, and I've been saying this for long. We seem to see the police today as a baguette, whereas the real baguette is somewhere in the offices using their pen to kill a lot of people every day. Yes. Using their pen, stroke of pen.
Just a minute, sir. I thought NSAS and SWAT, yes, we needed reforms, or people are calling for reforms, and we can see that there is need. I think it was just a phrase used to talk about disaffection and disharmony in many areas.
Excellent.
Because it has burst forth a lot of areas, that can be tackled.
Excellent. When I see NSAS, what comes to my mind is ends abuse of office. Okay. That is the basic thing. And when we talk of abuse of office in all ramification, go to the customs, go to the police, go to the immigration. I remember a friend of mine told me recently, he told me that it's only in Nigeria we see an immigration officer, a gatekeeper, smiling to visitors. It is not done all over the world. Smiling and trying to be nice to you. Why must it be smiling? Why must it be nice? I'm not saying it should be brutal. Because as you are at that point of entry, your job is to know who is coming to my country, what are you coming to do, whether you are coming to infiltrate the country, or whether you are coming, what you see, to some, let me use some of them, once they see you, how are you, Oga, they will smiling because you want to give them 2 or 3 times 3 naira. Even by the mere fact of even collecting money, whosoever that gives should remain a suspect, because coming into a country should not be a do-or-die affair that must tip. Have you ever been to anybody of those border control receiving tips? No.
Now, Barrister Jiro, it's very good that you're articulating some of these issues, but right now we know that investigation panels have been set up, in different parts of the country, judicial panel as well. Now, talk to us about these, panels, and of course, you think that we should have a truth and reconciliation, committee, to just commission to look at some of these issues.
Thank you very much. Let me quickly, and I must say this, and that is why if there is any of the president's speech that I'm intending and I agree with it, that he spoke to my mind, is where he said, maybe because he quickly acceded to the request of the protesters, that's why they are taking what he's doing for granted. I think we need to commend the presidency, particularly the president, for the proactiveness. This is the first time we've ever seen, and I believe maybe that one now seemed to be suspicious to the protesters, because nowhere you raise issue today within 2 or 3 days, the president, of course, the Inspector General of Police first said I'm proscribing it, and you say no, the president must speak to us, and within 2 minutes, within a twinkling of an eye, because I've been following it, the president came out to say yes, this is what it is. And I think I must commend the president, and whatsoever anybody may have against the president, which some of us are certainly, of course, we have against him, that he needs to be commended for that proactiveness. Unfortunately, it is being misconstrued to something. Now, to the issue of reform, all those judicial panels, I see that as a way to quickly, maybe a quick win issue. The deep one, we still have to get to that. And I think it is even to meet the demand, because that is part of the demands. Their demand is 5 demands. And all those demands, as far as I'm concerned, is something that is that's
actually been attended.
Of course, it's been attended to. Yeah. The only one I raised with most of the organizer parties, those I know, because I said when you ask for the release of all protesters, those protesters needs to be defined. But you know what I'm trying to say?
The setting up of committees and commissions, is it the way forward?
No, it is part of. Yeah, sure. It is part of it is part of it, because again, another thing again that I'm yet to know is to know what are the should I do call it manual? Those are the terms of references. Are they going part of their recommendation is to ask for penal, maybe for discipline and co, because I think what the reconciliation, the panel should do basically is to identify those that need to be punished and those that need to be rewarded, because
from our discussion with the Human Rights Commission boss, he actually said that there are, people who
subjected to being punished right now.
Oh, fine.
We have a list of people who are going to be, sacked from the police force.
Excellent.
So progress is being made in that regard. But also recently, you proposed that the Nigerian police force, I mean, just a matter of nomenclature, but it should be Nigerian police instead of Nigerian police force. So what informed that decision quickly?
Thank you for raising that. You said it just nomenclature. It's not nomenclature. There is symbol and symbolism.
Okay.
And this goes down with psychology. I remember as a Yoruba man, once I'm stepping to my family house, you will see them, they will be praising me, all our pageantry, telling you what your father has done. That is just to psych you and to psych you to do better. Look, all over the world, I want to believe that it's only in Nigeria you see Nigerian police force. The usage of force to average policeman, yes, I'm here. That's why you see police.
You believe it has impacted?
Yes, it has impacted in them. And it's only in
behavior.
Nigeria you see Nigerian police trying to compete with Nigerian army. We have two different things. One is purely a civil issue, civil servants. And that is why when some of us are asking for state police, we're not talking of state as really, I'm talking of street police. Street police, from one room to another, you see police there. Not that you take someone from Bayelsa and you ask him to go and police Sokoto. How do you want to? Do you know their culture? Do you know what they do? So the issue of police, I think it is one of the issues we have today. I remember Obasanjo tried then, and I think he failed because some people raised that it has to be through the law.
Dr. Ajolo, are you advocating for state police, community policing?
I'm advocating for community policing, not state police, because these police, I think they are mixing both together. The idea would be that because the essence of police, I think we've come time will permit us. We need to really understand the hypnosis, the concept of policing all over the world. That's why you see police is different from the military. Military, of course, is to fight the enemy, to subdue the enemy, to kill the enemy and eliminate them and kill them fully. But when it comes to police are civil servants. It's only in Nigeria police see themselves as another force. And that is why today...
Let me ask you something. I mean, reforms are ongoing and we hope that everything will come together to work for good for us. Recently, it was the youths that began the hashtag #EndSARS, hashtag #EndSWAT. Perhaps they were of the opinion that the emergence of SWAT after 48 hours was negating the essence of wrapping up SARS. Some people felt that SWAT emerged too quickly, but they got international notification and recognition. Now that the youths have come out in this regard, we've had our guests, like Honorable Farouk Aliyu said yesterday, that the youths can form a party and the youths can also allow themselves to be mentored. He is willing to do so because there's a law not too young to run. Are the youths ready? And how can government make them feel a part of governance?
Yes, you mentioned something I wish I can quickly say that. Unfortunately, communication, the deficit of communication, particularly with this SWAT. SWAT all over the world has been there from the beginning. That's why you see weapon and tactical command everywhere. So I think the biggest problem is, as at the time of raising up SWAT, the IG or whosoever that is unleashed should be able to explain that this has been an issue. Like we have the Nigerian television, cameramen, you must have a department for engineering. So if today you are trying to close one and you brought engineering department and everybody says, oh, this is a new setting. I think that is the mistakes the police should have let everybody know that when we call SWAT has been there for as long as you see any security formation. SWAT is always there, but unfortunately they really miss that. Then to that question about mentoring, yes, one of the things that one of the goodies coming from this NSAS protest is that for the first time again, is that done great thing by bringing the youths. Mind you, Nigerian youth, some people will tell you they are 60. I don't want to believe that. I was a national secretary of a political party, and a third force in Nigeria is Labour Party, and that was when Labour Party is Labour Party. That's the third largest political party in Nigeria. I know the demography of youth. Nigerian youth active participation is over 80% of the entire nation. And anybody mentioning 60, I do laugh. But how come only 5, even the elders, I don't think they constitute 2% in Nigeria. But unfortunately, the youth seem to get carried away with many things. Yes, Maybe because on unemployment, how can you ask somebody who is not employed to be thinking of politics?
Allow me to pause your thoughts there, because definitely we're about to take a report which talks about youth, participation in politics. Of course, you know about the Not Too Young to Run Act, which is in place now. We just have another guest join us in the studio, Musa Diko, former chairman, Buhari Area Council. You're welcome to our studios. Now, let's quickly continue. And by the way, I understand that today is your birthday.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, from the other conversation we had, let's pick up from there about youth participation in governance. Now, some are of the view that even this protest, as we have it, as soon as politics comes into play now, it's like the youth will lose focus, and then other elements will be out there to disintegrate the youth. What are your thoughts?
Youth participation in politics. It is most unfortunate that even the youth lost out. Why do I say so? If you check the history of Nigeria after independence, the category of people that have actually governed Nigeria are youths. You get back to the days of Nnamdi Azikiwe, you get back to the days of Tafawa Balewa, and a host of others. Coming into the military cycle after the truncated democracy that we had after independence, I think you find head of state of Nigeria at 34, at 39. If I'm not mistaken, General Yakubu Gowon was less than 40 years.
Yes, was in his 30s.
If I'm not mistaken, even the President Buhari today, when he took over in 1983, he was at his early 40s.
Early 40s.
General Babangida was at his early 40. So, the youths have lost it out. They did not go back to remember that, look, the country has been governed by them. And they go to bed to sleep. And of course, the elderly saw that, oh, we're not even in control of this country. We're not in control of these affairs of this nation. So let's take over. It's the elderly that took over from the youth, not the youth coming in to participate. So it's for us to go back to the drawing board to see who are actually the leaders of every nation.
But can I ask you something? I don't know if the elderly took over or the young people continued. They continued from some point and they've been on. But is it the age of the person that leads a country that determines the progress and development? How relevant is it to have youth input? Does the age really matter after all if somebody who is supposedly elderly is doing a great job?
Before now, the age never really matters. And that's why I cited one or two examples here. But unfortunately, the elders took over, I still repeat, they took over the affairs of governance of this country at a point that the youth never realized that they were actually the one governing, or they are supposed to govern this country. Go back to the population. We all agree that 65% of Nigerian population is constituted by the youth. But I think we're beyond that. Go on the street now. If you see 5 elders, you'll be thinking 50 youths on the street.
In fact, somebody just said that from his own, assessment, he realized that about 80% of Nigerian youths actually participate in the general population of those who are actively involved in politics.
Certainly, he's not far from the truth. He's not. But I want to say here that participation is what is actually the problem of the youths. We would want to see the youth participating fully, irrespective of size, party, or ethnic affiliations. Let the youth come out to take over what belongs to them in a democratic way, but not in a way that we will not understand their plights. Participation is key by the youth. The moment we don't participate as youth politically, the vacuum will be there, and the few percentage of the population will take over, which are the elders.
But do you think that mentoring is relevant? Yesterday when we spoke to Honorable Farouk Ali, he said mentorship is necessary and that he's willing to guide them into the formation of a party. And I guess he may be speaking the words of elders in quote who are in politics. Is that necessary to groom them to take positions?
Mentorship is very good. Who are you mentoring? The youth? From what state are you coming from? From the state of the youth. So the same state you pass through, this youth should be given the opportunity to pass through it favorably, effectively. And that is why I agree with the not too young bill. What I mean here is that the youth are our children. We give birth to them. When they are growing up, what do we do with them? We are teaching them life. We are telling them about norms and values of our society. At that moment, we're already grooming them to be leaders of tomorrow. That we always say. But I want to say here that mentorship is key. And the mentorship should be stretched forward by the elders. Look, I am 60 years of age. For instance, today I'm 51 years of age. I am gradually off from that cycle of what we define as youth. In this aspect, those around me, what do I do with them? What do I tell them about the Nigerian society? What do I tell them about governance? What do I tell them about how to handle affairs politically? What have they learned from me? Because mentorship also has to do with what I have been able to do over time.
Now, let's also concentrate on empowerment, because that is what some people believe that should happen to Nigerian youth if truly you want to encourage that participation in governance or politics in our society, that the youth need to be empowered.
Empowerment differs. What kind of empowerment are we talking about?
Empowerment, politically, resources.
Yeah, economically, very important as well.
When you give birth to a child and you train this child from primary school to secondary school to tertiary institution, whichever level, either university or the polytechnic, you are already empowering him. All that you need to do at this stage is to show him how to carry on with the empowerment you have given him at hand. You must let him know that it's not everyone that has gone to university will have a white-collar job. It's not everyone that will become a politician. Even in the business cycle, we can be found there. Therefore, give them sense of direction, making them to understand that if I empower you with cash, what do you do with this cash? In most cases, parents have empowered their children with cash. You see them opening an account for their children and stashing millions of naira in their account without telling them what to do with this.
In President's speech, when he was addressing the Nigerians as regard to NSAS protest, he made mention of some scheme that the federal government has actually come up with that the youth can leverage on. What are your thoughts? Because we know about 75 billion naira is made available, not just one, even NTA, a lot of programs.
The Ministry of Youth as well.
Yes, a lot of government programs, interventions aimed at empowering the youth.
Yeah, policies in Nigeria have always been very, very good, but implementation has been the problem. This empowerment scheme that the federal government has actually highlighted, they are very good. But unfortunately, when it comes to the stage of implementation, there is where problems come. President Buhari will not be the Minister of Education. President Buhari will not be the Minister of Disaster Management and the rest of it. So the people implementing these policies of the federal government matters. And I did say here sometime that until and unless I see myself as a Nigerian, when it comes to implementing some policies, there will be issues. Because I would want to favor some category of people, particularly those that are close to me. And that is where implementation of very good policies of federal government suffers. For instance, when the N Power project was going on, it was meant for who? It was not meant for those that are already working. But you found people that were having jobs, either in the private sector or in the public sector, taking up this appointment of N-Power again and benefiting. Why? Because they had people who they leverage on, they have people who pushes them and say, look, you can still take charge of this, you can still be part of this. So we must see ourselves as Nigerians. When we see ourselves as Nigerians, I'll be asking myself, have I failed today?
What do we need to see happen in order to, bring that culture, to mind?
What we need to see happen is, 1, fear of God. 2, remember at all time that you are a Nigerian. You are a human being that will live someday But whether you like it, rich or poor, you are going to die. When we begin to see things and think things this way, I tell you that whatever project you have, you would want to execute it to the letter to the benefit of the public. Otherwise, we will continue in a way that you are my brother, you are my sister. Come and take what I have, which is not working for this country.
It's not working.
It's
But
not
can
working.
I ask you something? As we look towards wrapping up the show, Sule has talked about empowerment. Left to me, I've never seen it a position where somebody who has a passion or a dream or a goal waits to be handed over something to achieve that. No one told people to come out to say end SARS or end SWAT. They came out because they were passionate. For those who may think, I want to participate in governance. While I await the invite, what do I do with my colleagues? Irrespective of culture, religion, and co, if we have the passion and the goal of harnessing the people in Nigeria and making our country continue on the path to progress.
Yeah, you see, the NSAS project or the NSAS issues that we've had, I stand to be corrected. But the youth did not come out because they were passionate to come out. They were compelled to come out. They were forced to come out. And that's why I talk about implementing policies of the federal government. The demands the youth have brought in the course of this NSAS struggle, are they strange? They're not strange. Did the federal government acknowledge? They did. And Mr. President said all these have always been in the process. But unfortunately, implementation has affected us, has affected the achievement of this demand that they have brought in. Therefore, I want to say the answers by the youth should be considered very carefully. We shouldn't always allow people to get worried to a stage that they'll be forced to react. When we do that, definitely I will not think of you as my brother. I will not think of you as my sister. Because I am compelled to look at you as my brother.
Well, it's good that you talk about implementation, because I know sometimes it's a process thing, but we need to fast track the process, because I understand that there was already a white paper, that talks about, that will have addressed all these reforms that we are experiencing now in the police reform. We just hope that the authorities concerned will do the needful when it comes to implementing government policies.
They will. And those who are placed in the position of implementation, the President has given his word. He's going to obligate citizens of this country, irrespective of party, creed, to help people.
Yeah,
I pray that they do
I'll
their job.
quickly tell you something here, Chalma. I have watched where National Assembly member speaks about issues of this nature. And I want to say here that there has been a disconnect between the public and the government, particularly the National Assembly cycle. We have about 400 and something National Assembly members representing the country Nigeria, representing all of us. Where I say disconnect, when bills are passed, when bills are taken within the National Assembly and passed to the executive for implementation or for whatever assent you'll be calling it for, do you let the electors know that Bill ABCD has been passed to the presidency? Therefore, when they are not aware of what you have done in favor and in respect of them, they will react negatively.
So I
want
have to ask you to hold that thought.
Yeah.
Perhaps we'll have to continue the conversation next week. And thank you so much. We're wrapping up the show. Thank you for your immense contribution.
Thank you too.
It's very timely. Thank you for being a part of Weekend Deal. I hope we're learning from various discussions we have had and that we are the better for it. Nigeria is a great country. We must learn to live in harmony and present our needs, whether we are compelled to or not, in a favorable manner, that we grow our country and protect every citizen's lives and property. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you.
Well, bye for now. And quickly, where's the party happening? All right. Bye for now. See you next weekend.